The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited on Tuesday raised the pump price of petrol to 897 naira per litre from the official price of 617 previous. This is coming days after the national oil company said it was heavily constrained by the huge debt it owes international suppliers. The debt is estimated to be $6.8 billion US. However, independent filling stations are now selling between 930 naira and 950 naira in several gas stations across the country.
At fuel stations in Jos, the capital of Plateau State, pump price of fuel has been adjusted to 920 to 1,000 naira per litre. This has led to despair by motorists, many of whom were already on fuel queues when the price was adjusted.
I slept here. I was here since around 3 o'clock yesterday till now. So some people came just recent now. They got the fuel, and they are selling it to the black markets people now. They are giving them the price. They came with jerry cans. They gave them this very morning. Some people came out privately. They gave them money and they gave them the price. Now they say the price is 950 naira.
Very, very disheartening and very appalling, and it's a disgrace to any human being, right-thinking human being, to increase fuel and oil product that was brought in 2 days ago.
In Port Harcourt, the price of a litre of PMS appreciated between 1,300 and 1,500 naira, with many of the fuel stations out of stock as at Tuesday. Before then, it hovered around 850 naira and 980 naira per litre. Expectedly, the increase in price has been passed by commercial vehicle drivers to the commuters, many of whom have resorted to walking long distances.
So we are begging, pleading to Nigerian government to come and help us, because so that at least we that are using the keke to look for our daily living, well, at least at the end of the day we can go home with something.
In the southeast, fuel stations in Abia and Imo states are selling petrol between 950 naira and 999 naira per litre. This is an increase of about 150 naira to the previous price sold at different fuel stations. A few stations, according to reports, sell as much as 1,150 naira per litre. In Anambra State, the situation is not different, as PMS now sells for between 960 naira and 980 naira per litre in many of the fuel stations. Arise News also gathered that most fuel stations are not dispensing the product, including the NNPC limited outlet in Oka.
Our product finished about 3 hours ago. How we buy, we know how we want to sell. They will give us the chart, we know what to sell. We cannot stay here and give the price we doesn't know the product.
In Kano State, the increase in pump price of petrol at NNPCL filling stations has taken effect. At the NNPCL station Hotoro, Nasarawa local government area, fuel is now officially sold at 904 naira per litre, while some independent marketers sell for 1,000 naira. In the northeastern state of Borno, there are long queues at fuel stations. Here in Maiduguri, fuel is sold between 950 naira and 1,200 naira per litre. The sudden appearance of long queues at fuel stations is a consequence of the NNPCL's decision to increase pump prices. It is a similar situation in Jalingo, Taraba State, as fuel now sells for within 950 naira to 980 naira per litre.
All right, joining us now on the morning show to explain why the NNPC Limited took the decision to increase the price of petrol is Adedapo Segun, the NNPC Executive Vice President in charge of downstream operations. A great Thursday morning to you, sir. Thanks for coming here on Arise News Channel.
Thank you, Bossing, and thanks for inviting me.
How do you feel about the current situation of petrol scarcity, the queues, and higher pricing in Nigeria?
Well, no right-thinking person will feel good with a scarcity situation. We have a job to do as an NNPC, and we're working to deliver that, albeit with the constraints we face. So it's not something we're happy about, but I can tell you it's something we're working 24/7 to eradicate.
What exactly are you working on right now at the NNPC to eradicate?
We're working with all of the marketers. You know, we have almost 1,000 stations around the country, but that's not enough. We're working with all of the marketers, engaging with them to ensure that fuel stations open early and close late, and make sure that there's enough fuel in all of the stations. So we are ensuring that deliveries are made to stations. We are doing our best to ensure that there are no diversions. But you know, when you have a situation, when you have a price change situation, typically it takes a few days for all of the stations to recalibrate their meters. So that's basically the situation we are in now. I expect that this will fizzle out within the next few days as more stations calibrate and begin to sell.
All right, Mr. Segun, thank you for joining us this morning. So a number of questions. Yes, I hear you from a very, from an organization's perspective, this is how it is. But what is responsible for the fuel scarcity and the sufferings that Nigerians have had to endure in the past few days? I ask because we got a number of reasons from NNPCL. Perhaps you can give some clarity to that with an official position as to why Nigerians had to endure the fuel scarcity in the last few days. And then a justification for the immediate implementation of the fuel price hike without notice given to Nigerians.
I'll start with the latter part. If you look in Section 205 of the PIA, and that's the act that gave birth to NNPC Limited, it tells you that petroleum prices or fuel prices will be based on unrestricted free market conditions. And so when you have a situation where fuel prices remain the same, that's what's unusual. You won't see that in other climes where you have prices fixed for a long period. It's actually supposed to move in consonance with the changes in market conditions. During the summer months, prices are high because it's a driving season. In the winter months, you have prices come down and things like that. So that's what the PIA provides for, and prices should move with the seasons.
Okay, the problem here is that there appears to be a trust deficit. So when we make reference to the PIA, why is it that we're picking and choosing the parts of the PIA that we want to implement? For example, NNPC is supposed to be listing on the stock exchange. When will that happen if we're going to follow the PIA to the letter? Secondly, there's mixed, again, deficit of trust, mixed communication, mixed signals, because the understanding is that there's a debt of $6.8 billion to international suppliers, which initially was denied, but now has been it has been confirmed that this debt exists. Now, with the existence of this debt, where is the fuel going to come from? Because the understanding is that NNPC does not have money to bring in the fuel, and this new pump price of $897 is still below the global market price, or the landing cost rather, of fuel. So where is the fuel coming from, and how is this debt going to be paid?
Well, I can assure you that we have a good relationship with our suppliers, and as we speak, we don't have a problem with the supplies coming in. Yes, we do have a challenge with payments, and that's largely due to the fact that there's some FX illiquidity, as it's obvious, and that really is the challenge. As much as we are able to, we are making payments to them. And talking about the debts, I wouldn't want to go into that issue, but yes, there is a debt. There may have been a denial on the exact amount that was posted in the media. It wasn't a correct amount, and so maybe that was the denial. But yes, there is a debt. It's not news to anyone. But we're doing all we can to make sure that we retain the confidence of our suppliers. And I can assure you that our suppliers have confidence in our ability to pay. NNPC has never defaulted in making its payments, and that's why our suppliers continue to back us up. The good thing also is that we have Dangote refineries coming up with production as it's been announced, and that would also provide a source of supply into the country.
Okay, so let me just take him very quickly, Bosun here, back again. Let me just ask these one or two questions very quickly. The first has to do with the price of petrol. In other climes, and I'm talking about Africa and not anywhere else in the world, right now as we speak, South Africa is enjoying a little bit of lower pump prices, petrol, diesel. Similar announcement was made 2 days ago in Tanzania, where about petrol prices, diesel prices, down about 4% for Tanzanians between August and September in the new month, based on the fluctuations in global oil prices. So first question, why is it difficult for Nigeria to achieve that same measure of practice in pricing petrol in this country? And the second one has to do with the FX illiquidity challenge you talked about. Would you say that the exchange rate unification last year made the situations of NNPC worse in terms of your finances because the exchange rate was floated and the Naira was floated, and then you run into this big problem because you are now facing Naira dollar at about 1,600 at the market?
Well, so talking about the prices in other climes, South Africa and other places, you'd recall that I said earlier that in the summer months, prices are high, it's driving season. And as we move towards the winter months, prices drop. So you expect to see prices drop in those climes where petrol prices are market-based. So, but the opposite is our situation. We're not at our full market pricing of PMS yet. And that's why the behavior of PMS prices in Nigeria cannot be compared to those markets where the prices are fully market-based. And if you're going to do a comparison, you want to check out the equivalent of those prices you see in those climes and compare them to the prices here, you'll find that they're still way higher than the prices we're offering when you bring them to common currency.
So what would you prefer? A free market pricing mechanism for Nigeria, at the NNPC, or one that is controlled by the NNPC and not truly reflecting market price for Nigeria at whatever price it is? What do you favor, really, at the NNPC? What's the policy?
Like I said earlier, in Section 205 of the PIA, it should be free markets, unrestricted market-based conditions. Government policy would come in, and that happens as government would deem to bear some of that where government deems it that necessary. Well, what's sustainable is the unrestricted free market pricing of PMS. That way, competition takes over, and Nigerians will get the best. You'll see everyone would compete for market share, and the quality of service will improve. That feeling of entitlement by marketers or companies in the business would go away because they will compete against each other to serve the consumer better.
So technically speaking, I'm sure my colleagues, Ayo and others want to ask a few more questions. So technically speaking, we're messing things up for ourselves. We have the PIA. The government put the PIA in place, but does not allow the PIA to work. Technically, that's what you're saying, because we've got a PIA that provides that we should have a free market enterprise in the oil industry. Then the same government comes, as you said, as a dim fit at some point to tinker to it. So we're actually shooting ourselves in the foot, to put it mildly. That's what it means. So how does the NNPC operate? With a PIA or with what the government of the day wants?
You know, government policy is multidimensional. So you can look at a government policy with a narrow lens. There are various reasons why governments would take on different policies at different times, and it's all geared towards supporting the citizens. So I wouldn't want to take it, you shouldn't look at government policy in isolation. You should look at it in the context of conditions within the country. So it's not about government working against the PIA, it's about government supporting its citizens. So that's the way I see that.
All right, Mr. Segun, according to organized private sector, NECA to be exact, they say that Nigerians are paying for the inefficiencies of NNPCL. That rather than NNPCL having addressed the fundamentals, so we have 4 refineries that haven't worked, despite going from your financials, which you released a few weeks back, there's a lot of money that's gone into that in terms of maintenance. It hasn't worked. Now Nigerians have to pay for inefficiencies. Number one is, despite the deadlines given for our refineries coming on stream, why has it been impossible to make those refineries function? That's one, because that could potentially address the supply challenges that we currently face in the nation. So you didn't answer my first question, that there have been many reasons given for the fuel scarcity experience and hardship experienced by Nigerians in the last few weeks by NNPCL. What is the official reason? The reason I'm asking is because should we expect in the future for other fuel scarcity incidents like this, or is this the last for Nigerians to see?
Well, it's not about an official position. We are professionals in NNPC, and we do our job as professionals. The reasons are the reasons. And there are diverse reasons, as I had shared previously. First, we have conditions that affect our ability to distribute fuel efficiently. And as you mentioned earlier, we do have a constraint of FX illiquidity. And when you have that situation, you have to strike a very fine balance between the size of your debts and the volume of products that you import. It wouldn't make sense to import so much more than you can reasonably service, and create a situation where your debts become unserviceable. So it's a fine balance that we have to draw between those two. The size, the volume of PMS that we import, and the size of our payables that is mainly driven by FX illiquidity.
All right, the first question I asked you, I said the refineries. What was the other? Yes, the refineries, that Nigerians are paying for inefficiencies of NNPCL. We've had a number of days from last year, December 2023, when the GMD had said that the refineries will begin to work. They said Port Harcourt refinery is mechanically completed. Till now, September 2024, nothing has happened. What is going on with that?
Well, nothing has happened is actually far from the truth. And I'll explain this using an example that you're very familiar with. Recall that the 4 refineries, let's talk about Port Harcourt particularly. Port Harcourt Refinery is a brownfield project, and the rehabilitation was mechanically completed in December 2023. You recall also that in May 2023, Dangote Refineries was also mechanically completed and started production of middle distillates sometime in March this year. I think the process of getting a refinery to production from mechanical completion isn't one that you can determine through, that accurately, because it's a process of multiple iterations. I'll tell you for a fact that Port Harcourt Refinery, the heaters in Port Harcourt Refinery have been fired up. They actually started working last month, and the process, so it's multiple iterations. You start off the refinery, fire it up, and then you look around and see if there are things that you need to correct. You bring it down, correct those things, fire it up again. It takes a process to get it running.
That the GMD, in giving the dates for when these refineries will come on stream, was just giving Nigerians what they wanted to hear? Because you're saying that it's difficult to determine, but he gave us specific timelines for when the refineries will come on stream, all of them not met. And so if Dangote could tell us that by August they'll begin production, and by 1st of September they did begin production, what is the difference? So it is going back again to inefficiencies, like was said by NECA, that Nigerians had to then pay for these inefficiencies. That's the challenge.
I disagree completely with you. Even when you give projections are your best estimate at any time. And if you look at even the best analysts in the world, when they give their projections, they put a disclaimer there and say, this is subject to change. There's a limit to how much into the future you can see. So you give your best estimates of when this will happen. But when there are shifts, there are shifts. We have to understand that the process of running a refinery is very delicate. It's not something that's, if you find the situation that's going to impact the safe operation of the refinery, you go ahead because you've given a date. Safety is most important. Every individual that works in that refinery has a family. They're breadwinners in their families. It's important for us to ensure that they go home after work every day. So when we have situations that call for us to have interventions, we will make those interventions, because this is the way to go. You don't want to start up a refinery and then have a big problem. If you've been to the refining environment, you'd understand what I'm saying. You're working at over 300 degrees. This isn't something you take lightly. Okay. It's something you have to be very sure of before you
Your point is duly noted. So in essence, you're saying that Port Harcourt Refinery has not yet come online because you're still ensuring that the work environment is safe enough for your employees, is how I got that. But my question to you is that your financials, earlier you were talking about, your balance sheets, speaking on facts and analyzing data. Your financials show that there is a shortfall in the price of fuel. And that is being covered of 7 trillion. So whether you want to call it subsidy or whether you want to call it shortfall, but subsidy is being paid. My question is, if there's 7 trillion that is to be paid, estimated from August 2023 to December 2024, why is the pump price still going up? The government is paying for it, so why are we paying double?
You're not paying double. So it's a zero-sum game. If the government is paying for it and the prices go up, it means the government is paying less for it. So it's simply a zero-sum game. There's no duplication.
Okay. I'm just going back a little bit to the situation of FX illiquidity and the situation that the NNPC is right now. As far as your last financial accounts are concerned, I'm sure you folks at the NNPC realize the great burden that you bear, that virtually every Nigerian living within this country, from Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria himself, depends on the NNPC. His vehicles are run on petrol. Everyone in Nigeria, down to the man under the bridge, runs our lives around petrol, around technically Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. So you are in charge technically as to the #1 source of energy for this country. I'm sure that's a fact. So Right now, as far as the situation of things are with the NNPC, as a vice president at the very top in the C-suite, how much damage or how much impact do you have? Does the FX exchange rate flotation have on your finances over the last 1 year? How worse does it make things for you? And in what situation does that place the NNPC right now to remain as a going concern to be able to function, since all of us depends on you?
Well, I'll say that the going concern of NNPC is not in question. NNPC is firmly placed to continue doing business. The FX situation isn't an NNPC situation. I'm sure even you understand how that affects you. So it affects every entity, corporates or personal within the country the same way. So it's not something I need to explain how the FX situation or the exchange rate situation affects NNPC. It affects us equally as it affects every other entity in the country. What we're doing is to make sure that we continue to provide energy to every nook and cranny of this country. And so when we have to take positions or we have to implement actions to enable us do this efficiently, we will do that.
All right, let's go back to that question around landing costs and what the petrol cost is currently. I ask because I am sure you've seen the responses by Nigerians following the increase in pump price of petrol to 897 naira per litre. The landing cost currently is 1,200, 1,300 naira. Should we expect more price hikes in petrol price in the next few weeks, few months?
Well, I can tell you, what I can tell you simply is that the pump price today is still not market reflective. So if we are, and we should be moving towards market reflective pump prices so the competition can kick in. NNPC is the sole provider of PMS in the country today. And that is abnormal. We should have a situation where everyone who is in the business is able to bring in PMS and sell, and then the consumers get the best situation. But all of these has to be taken in the context of the general well-being of Nigerians to ensure where the government comes in with policies to support Nigerians. We welcome that, but we should be moving to a situation where free market conditions determine the price of fuel. And then you would actually see prices move up and down in consonance with the seasons, which is what we really should have.
Respectfully, sir, it was the NNPC that chose to be a monopoly. It is the NNPC that decides to be a monopoly when it comes to petrol imports. I'm sure you can hear me, sir.
Hello.
All right, so we'll come back to him. I believe that he's wants to sort out the issues. But very good point you're about to make, because even with the Dangote Refinery coming on stream, the criticism has been that NNPC is going to be the sole, they're going to sell to NNPC solely. And marketers have come out to protest that, saying that why should they have monopoly on that? And I still maintain the fact, going by what organized private sector has said, that they haven't managed this efficiently. So why should Nigeria trust NNPCL to manage or to manage the process? Yeah. I don't think, from what he said, with all due respect, that we have seen the end of fuel scarcity in the country, and this is worrying. A number of people are watching because they want to understand if or not they should just find a permanent spot on the fuel queues at filling stations, and then to hear that there's going to be a potential increase because it's not market reflective. I don't know what to say, but it's...
I hope we can get him back online, because in line with all of this, there's still more questions to be asked in terms of the amount of money that is being spent. So as much as he's saying that, oh, now government will be spending less on subsidy now that the pump price has been increased, we still want to comb through NNPC's financials, because there's still some miscellaneous expenses, others 7 billion naira spent on others that we want to clarify. Where did that money go? There's 10 billion spent on the NNPC Foundation. We also want to understand where did this, 55% of total, 37% of total. These are huge sums. So before you now pass on the burden to the consumer, let's understand where all this money is going and where all this money is spent, and why we cannot sustainably continue. We know that we're going through a tough economic transition. Now is not the time to be passing on the burden to consumers. People have taken as much as they can. They're at their wits' end. Minimum wage is 70,000. So that has just been wiped out. Listen to people on paper.
Because a number of people haven't seen this in their account yet.
Most people have not spent less than 1,000 naira this morning to commute to work. Majority of people.
Exactly.
All right, we understand our guest is back on.
Yes, I just want to go to that very quickly, sir. I'm sure you can hear me, sir, Mr. Vice President at the NNPC.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Thank you. And I was just going to say that it was where I stopped, we lost that connection, was because the NNPC decides to be the sole importer. And I'm sure you know this as much as I do. It was last year also that the NNPC says it was going to move aside and allow other organizations to do imports. Then within a couple of weeks and months, the NNPC came back and said, no, we revert that position. We are going to remain the sole importer of petrol into Nigeria. So that means you put yourself in a situation in which you remain at the heart of everything, in a manner of speaking, talking about import of petrol. Now we've got the Dangote Refinery also what's your position? You want to remain the sole off-taker from Dangote's fuel as well. How sustainable do you think the NNPC, your organization, can continue to do this without allowing for a free market enterprise in a critical sector such as this for Nigeria's economy and for everyone's livelihood?
Well, let me put it in proper perspective. As you'd understand, NNPC is not a regulator. We don't put ourselves in the situation. We didn't put ourselves in the situation and say we won't be the sole importers. So you need to understand how this works. NMDPRA is the regulator for the sector. NNPC is just another limited liability company, another player in the sector. We're not regulators, so we don't determine who plays or who doesn't play. What we do is we come in when others refuse to come in for some reasons. And the reasons that we've seen, the FX illiquidity is a major part of it. The free market-based pricing is another part of it. And so it's not about us wanting to be, and I said this sufficiently this morning, we're looking forward to that situation where the free market conditions will run things. And once the prices are market-based, the next question will be FX illiquidity. All we're doing is picking up what others are unable to supply into the system. And we will stop doing that as soon as others are able to supply. So rather than seeing NNPC as wanting to be the sole supplier, see NNPC as the entity that's picking up what others are unable to supply into the system.
Sir, but Ipman are ready to pick up from Dangote Refinery, but anyway.
Yeah, the marketers have come out to say they are ready. So they don't need a bailout from NNPCL, that you should open the market, fully deregulate it, let them come in and then prove to the Nigerian people that they're unable to manage this, because NNPCL managing this hasn't helped situations. As we wrap up in 30 seconds, because Nigerians want to know, is this price, you're not going to go back on this new price, 897 naira per litre? That's one. Number two, when are we going to see an end to the fuel scarcity? When? Just a timeline. Just that in 30 seconds and we wrap up.
You know, what I can say is that we are doing everything we can to get this to leave, the scarcity to go away.
Okay, so no timeline.
You need to understand, like I said earlier, we need to have all players come in.
All right.
We need to have all players come in, create a situation where all players will come in. So no one's holding back Ipman and all the other marketers from buying directly from Dangote refineries. If government policy is to support Nigerians for a little bit longer, so be it.
All right,
By
so
the time when
Nigerians
government's
should brace
policy,
up themselves on the queues, that's it. So we should expect more queues. That's what we're hearing from you. And then the price will remain at 897.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, so please be clear.
No,
I just
no,
asked for
I
a
didn't say
timeline.
that.
So
what
be
I've
very
said,
clear.
what I've said to you.
Okay. Go on, please.
What I've said to you is that there are multiple issues on this. The queues have come, the queues will go. What I'm talking about is when we will permanently not see queues anywhere in Nigeria. Market conditions need to be perfect, and also there needs to be FX liquidity because even with Dangote refineries in Nigeria, the government has made it possible now for Dangote refineries to buy crude in Naira, and NNPC is supporting this. We've provided over 30 million barrels of crude oil to Dangote refineries so far. This month alone, we will be providing 6.3 million barrels of crude oil to Dangote refineries in 7 cargoes. And in October, we'll be providing another 11.3 million barrels of crude oil to Dangote refineries in 13 cargoes. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that this situation abates as soon as possible.
Okay, so no timeline.
And I can assure you that we will see the results.
Okay, so no timeline. Nigerians just brace up. Thank you so much, sir, for your time with us this morning.